So just like any critical incident, you always want to have an after action report. And that's what we're going to do today. You don't go out into the world and say, hey, everything was perfect and we don't know, because that's not being true to the process, number one. And that might necessarily not be true ultimately. Not that it's intentional in any way, but it does, sometimes, as Jennifer feels here, things would turn political in nature. And so we have to always remember that after action reports are critical because it helps you not to make the same mistakes next time. It's kind of like a doctor leaving the sponge in the stomach and then they sew them up and the ER tech realizes or the surgical tech realizes, hey, we're missing a sponge. If you don't have the chutzpah to tell the world that, hey, we lost a sponge, then you'll never correct it the next time around.
That's right. And Chris, I would just add that, listen, people don't expect everything to be perfect. We're all humans and mistakes are always made. However, after the plea deal, we have been seeing for the last week what I would call the public relations parade on national media. We've seen the prosecutor, we've seen the lead investigators out there really not just touting what they did. And by the way, yeah, they got the right guy and he's behind bars for life. Okay. But they're also kind of trying to paint a little bit different of a picture of the crime and how horrendous it was. There seems to be, in my opinion, this kind of lessening of what actually took place just by how they describe what happened and how they're answering questions. And so if they had come out and said, look, mistakes were made, this wasn't perfect, here's where we fell flat, but we want to really answer your questions in order for the families to get closure. If we had heard any of that, we probably wouldn't have even been doing this program today. But
Yeah.
we heard anything close to that. And again, yes, there was a document dump release, but it's nothing close to half of everything that they have. And in reading those documents, there's a lot of errors and mistakes and things that are worth discussing and at least asking questions about.
Absolutely. And we also know that there, and I have to say it, there was, because they never denied it, that there was some amazing journalistic work done on Dateline where they provided some stuff to the public that, quite frankly, the investigation and or the document dumps have not provided yet. Maybe that's the stuff that's still under seal. My guess is that's going to be. But in the interim, there are narratives being created and conversations being had with the national news media. Not that that's a bad thing. That's a good thing for the cops to go out and say, look what we did. Okay, that's not where we're coming from today. Okay. However, what becomes a problem is just like this book. Okay? This book, the University President's Crisis Handbook, and I know I'm pitching it, okay, for him at the university. Okay, that's not the problem. But this handbook, if there was ever a, let's say, civil trial down the road where folks felt that they weren't, justifiably correct or handled correctly, etc., this will become Exhibit 1, Exhibit A. And let me give you a perfect read out of this book of why Karen and I feel this way. And first of all, if you're new to our channel, one of the things I have to tell you in full transparency here is number one, I married way up, if you can't tell. And also, my wife is an experienced investigative journalist for over 35 years. And I used to read a lot of her stories, and I thought, man, this girl's dangerous. And she worked, first in her career, started at the LA Times, and then worked, in a daily in Southern California. Okay, that's it. I have to put that out there because when she bites into something, she doesn't let go. And that's what journalists do. And that's what Dateline did. They had sources, they bit into it, they didn't let go. You notice if it was fake information, they would have been saying right up front, hey, this is fake information. There's not a lawyer in that staff for Dateline that would have let them publish that information if they felt it wasn't reliable and 100% consistent. In fact,
and
go
to
ahead.
your point, if the Dateline information had been false, then why did, number one, Judge Hippler, get upset about the leaks and launch an investigation into who leaked it? If the information was false, they wouldn't have done that. If the information was true or parts of it were true, then you would have seen the reaction that we saw. So they can't come out and say now all the Dateline information was wrong because they claimed when it came out, it tainted their jury pool. Remember that?
Yes. And to answer your question, no, we're not saying that. We're saying they are massaging the messaging. And let me read out of page 351, page 351 from the president's book. And I'm going to quote this. It's a quote. Okay. Lee contacted U of I safety and security team and Jody Walker, co-chief marketing officer. Okay. First of all, the first question is, why is the marketing officer involved in a conversation about 4 university students murdered off campus? I also called and texted the leadership team asking them to meet at the administration building. Some had heard of the incident, others had not. All mobilized immediately. Now, this is the university mobilizing. And what did they do? And I'm going to read it from their own words. Page 351. The command center, they put a command center together. Comprise the right people with the right experience and decision-making authority. Now, mind you, is this a state school, Karen?
University of Idaho is the land grant school, I believe. So they receive state money, they receive public funds and private funds.
Okay. And that means it would fall under the umbrella of the governor, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And the governor did give them $1 million, didn't he?
At least. We know it was an extra $1 million, but then also Latah County would have asked for more money, and they did back in 2024. So the number is probably a lot higher than that.
Okay. So let's go through this paragraph because it's going to be critical for us to lay the foundation for the conversations we're going to have here today. Now, mind you, everybody's under the gag order after the homicides occur, but this guy, the president of the university, which is a state-run, or at least grant money goes to this university from the state, as well as public funding as well. Okay. However, he was quick to note and brag that the command center comprised the right people with the right experience and decision-making authority. Here's the hard part to take in, folks. All focused on how to manage communications to the extent possible, mitigating further risk stemming from the incident and coordinating with law enforcement partners. It's right there, highlighted for the world to read what the plan was.
Chris, let me translate from what that paragraph,
Okay, go
what
ahead.
she's really saying. She's really saying, how do we figure out how to stop the bad press? Because parents around the country are not going to want to send their kids to University of Idaho, and we're going to lose money. That's exactly what that means.
Right. And so we see on the next page, 352. Well, first of all, I'm not upset that the university is, who they are. I am very disappointed that a university was involved in a quadruple homicide.
Right.
A defense attorney, which you just saw Billy on Sunday, would have eaten the university alive. Because the first thing you'd want to do is put every one of these people, and Ann Taylor would have done it, put every one of these people on the stand. Now, I'm coming from years of law enforcement experience. I am the director of criminal investigations for the Cold Case Foundation. We work actively with law enforcement on a daily basis. I have worked well past 300 murders in my career. I have seen officers get eviscerated in death penalty cases. I've put people on death row. So I'm coming from a position of authenticity. I'm not coming from a position to say, look at me. I'm trying to figure out why this is going the way that it's going, i.e., you have people out there now saying what they're saying. Okay. But page 352. Moscow Police Department Barrett reached out to Blaine to help coordinate getting the friends of the King Road residents away from the crime scene. All right. There are some things in here that a university is supposed to do. Who are the victims? Do you guys have horsepower on them? Help us understand that. Okay. And that was their role. And that's where it stops. That's the role. It stops right there. Because now, in an investigation, you don't know early on, what if it's somebody on the staff that killed the kids? And you're putting into the circle the homicide suspect. That's why these things are closed investigations. They're not to discuss with anybody outside of the circle. And now we go to page 355. The team worked to get MPD the information needed to conduct the investigation, preparing talking points for the press conference, and responding to media requests for information and interviews with university personnel in limited cases. So my question to the world and to the university and to Moscow Police Department and to the DA's office, Mr. Thompson, is that still happening?